as the white flag is raised. Thereof, the first grade 1, the KPMG champion novice hurdle. Over the extended 2 miles, 9 flights to jump. It is Salvator Mundi who sets off to make it. From Irancy on the inside, out jump the second by Kopek the Bordes, coming here with an unbeaten record. Then the 2 outsiders, Fleetfoot, Wendy Hill, and just the back marker is Carbo. Heading past the judge the first time. Flight number 2 is next. It is Salvator Mundi, followed by Kopek the Bordes, third Irancy, and fourth is Fleetfoot with the final couple, Wendy Hill and Carbo. Reaching flight number 2 on the uphill run to the top of the track. Kopek the Bordes just left his own ones in that. As it's Salvator Mundi increasing the lead to over 4 lengths from Kopek the Bordes, who's moved on. From stable companion Irancy, who's just third, from Fleetfoot, and then Wendy Hill and Carbo. The uphill flight number 3. Salvator Mundi up and over from Kopek the Bordes, again far from fluent. And then Irancy, Fleetfoot, Wendy Hill and Carbo. They're spacing themselves out now. Salvator Mundi and Patrick Mullins, followed by Kopek the Bordes and Paul Townend. Gone further away from Irancy and Mark Walsh, who's just holding on to third. From Fleetfoot and Keith Donoghue as Carbo and Danny Mullins relegate to last, Winnie Hill and Sam Ewing. Over the flight at the bottom of the track. And it is Salvator Mundi by over 5 lengths to Kopek the Bordes, gone a long way cleared of Irancy, and then Fleetfoot, Carbo and Winnie Hill. Further stretched out, turning down the far side to the first of 3. The KPMG champion novice hurdle. And it is Salvator Mundi with a slightly reduced advantage over Kopek the Bordes. 10 to 12 lengths up on the third running Irancy as Carbo edges into fourth ahead of Fleetfoot and finally Winnie Hill. Heading for the halfway stage in the next flight in the back straight. It is Salvator Mundi in front since the tape was released. It's followed by Kopek the Bordes, who's closer than second, as Irancy is just coming in to negotiate at a remote third, and then Carbo, and colliding at the back on landing of that flight, Fleetfoot and Winnie Hill. They're both struggling on. Salvator Mundi over the last flight in the back straight. From Kopek the Bordes, Irancy in third and Carbo in fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Willie Mullins at the moment, with 5 furlongs to go. Gone a long, long way clear of both Fleetfoot and Winnie Hill. Turning with 5 furlongs to go and 2 flights to jump. Salvator Mundi is all the while coming back to Kopek the Bordes, who's within a length now. Much closer in third and fourth respectively, Irancy and Carbo. Racing along the side of the track with 2 flights to jump. The KPMG champion novice hurdle. Salvator Mundi gathered in by Kopek the Bordes. Still closing up both Irancy and Carbo as they jump the second last off to the left. And more than tickling the flight, Kopek the Bordes, and has lost second to Irancy. Turning in for the final flight, it's Salvator Mundi from Irancy, Carbo on the outside. Kopek the Bordes has flattened out, is relegated to fourth. Turning in for the last flight, Salvator Mundi, joined by Irancy, who is making headway, 1 out from the rail, followed then by Carbo, leaving behind Kopek the Bordes, passing the 2 with 1 flight left to jump, and it is Irancy travelling much the better of the leading 3 and goes on, coming to the final flight. It is Irancy and Mark Walsh into the last. They've widened their advantage over Salvator Mundi, and not on landing by Carbo. Most disappointing in fourth, Kopek the Bordes, but not taking away from Irancy here, who's winning the KPMG champion novice hurdle in impressive fashion. Salvator Mundi second, Carbo in third.
It's Willie Mullins' first winner of the week here at Punchestown, but it's also the first big shocker of the week because Kopek the Bordes has lost his unbeaten record. He's been well beaten off by stable companion Irancy. He was a big market drifter, but nobody told him that. He returns at 18 to 1, and he's won really impressively here as well. This horse, who went missing after winning his maiden hurdle here in November, reappeared in the Supreme Novice Hurdle didn't run up to par that day, much more like it at Fairyhouse last time, and he's just making his move into contention as the favourite's about to beat a retreat, Lisa, and there were worrying signs from an early stage with Kopek the board, were there not?
There was, Gary. He was jumping to his left considerably throughout, but at this point in time he's about to be completely blown out of the water. On the outside obviously is Carbo, Danny Mullins. In between horses is the eventual winner, Mark Walsh on board, who's still almost just biding his time, giving him slap down the neck just to wake him up slightly. On the inside obviously Salvator Mundi starts to backtrack a little bit at this stage, and between him and Carbo they have a private battle for second place, but up at the front end is Irancy, and from the back of the last home, Gary, he just puts the race completely to bed. There's no question about it. He's really stepped up his form, but he's been helped by the fact that Kopek to board has completely blown out.
That he has. Fair play to Salvator Mundi. He stuck on to hold off Carbo for second. He probably was doing a bit more than ideal in that early part of the race under Patrick Mullins. Irancy was happy and Mark Walsh to sit a nice bit back off them, but closed up, leaving the back straight. I think it'd be wrong to underestimate this horse though, Lisa. He really has threatened maybe in the past to do something like that today. You couldn't legislate for a Kopek they board bombing out the way he did, but he was third to Ballyburn, or behind Firefox and Ballyburn in a maiden hurdle last year, and then he went 2023 that was, and then he went missing for a long time. He's obviously had his issues, but he's a smart horse, and
things have not been simple with him either, I would imagine.
No, it looks like Connections are finally getting a clear run with him now, and we've seen just what he is capable of here today. He's routed them in the end, albeit the race was set up nicely for him to produce a career best. Grade 2 winner at Fairyhouse last time. Now he strikes at the top level. He's a horse, notwithstanding the fact that the favourite has underperformed here, who I think we're going to be hearing an awful lot more of. Irancy takes the first grade 1 of the week here, the KPMG champion novice hurdle.
Yeah, and a record 11th win in the race for Willie Mullins.